I've been experimenting with a few different recipes as of late. Some have worked, some haven't, and that's why this one's getting uploaded on Wednesday instead of Monday, just because I had a couple of setbacks in the previous video. For this one, we're going to be making sweet chili beef. It tastes absolutely fantastic. We're also going to be doing a turmeric rice, and other than the prep, this does only take as long as it takes to cook rice, so it's super quick. Let's get straight into it. Please sit back, relax, and enjoy. Alright, starting off as per usual is the prep. So here is one brown or yellow onion that's been peeled and had its tip removed. This can be sliced in half, and with both halves make thin slices across, stopping just before the root, and we're just going to use the root to hold it together. Let's then make two horizontal slices through the onion, again stopping before the root, which will break up the layer formation, also creating a stronger flavour from the onion as the cells are broken down more. Then slice across and dice into nice small pieces. For this recipe it is best if the onion is in little pieces, but if you can't, it's all good, so don't worry about that. And also be sure to trim off any excess flesh from around the root and save all of the scraps for a stock. Next is 5 cloves of freshly peeled garlic. Place the side of your knife over the top, and with the blade facing away, push down to crush, which will activate the allicin compound, which is what gives garlic its strong flavour and aroma. This can then be roughly chopped into small little pieces, and you may see that I usually create a paste with the garlic, which is in its strongest form, but crushing it and roughly chopping it still gives us a strong flavour, but it's not as powerful. Here is 4 spring onions or scallions that have had their tips removed and saved for a stock. We're going to be using the whole thing, but slicing the white roots slightly differently to the green stems. With the roots, slice these straight on nice and thin, with these being used in the beef element to this dish, and with the green stems, these can also be sliced thinly but on a slight angle, with these being used in our rice and as a garnish. It is also optional if you don't want to use these at all. Last but not least, 20 grams or 0.7 ounces of coriander or cilantro is being used in both parts to this dish. It is of course optional if you're not a fan, but if you are using it, scrunch it into a tight bunch to make it easier to work with, and give it a quick rough chop, making sure that there's no large leaves or stems. Now to make our rice, place a large saucepan over medium-high heat, add in 2 tablespoons or 28 grams of clarified butter or ghee, and allow it to melt. Once melted, add in the diced brown or yellow onion and saute for 1 minute just to pick up all of that butter, mixing it regularly. Then add in the roughly chopped garlic, along with 2.5 teaspoons or 6 grams of whole cumin seeds for an earthy warmth, 1 3/4 teaspoons or 4 grams of whole caraway seeds for a nutty bittersweet sharpness, 3/4 of a teaspoon or 1 gram of ground turmeric for a bitter muskiness and colour, and a small pinch of sea salt flakes to taste. We can then continue sauteing for 2 minutes, moving it regularly, and this will allow those spices to toast, enhancing their flavour. Next to go in is 300 grams or 10.5 ounces of washed basmati rice that can be given a good mix through and toast for 1 minute, which will create a slight nutty flavour in the rice, and we want to keep this moving as rice can burn easily. With that done, pour in 600 milliliters or 20.2 fluid ounces of chicken stock. Give this yet another good mix through, removing anything stuck on the side of the saucepan. Increase the heat to high and bring it to a boil. Once boiling, reduce the heat to low, place on a lid and let it cook undisturbed for 12 minutes. Now for the sweet chili beef, place a large high-rimmed pan over high heat, add in 1 tablespoon or 20 milliliters of olive oil, and once hot, add in 1 kilo or 2.2 pounds of beef mince, with this having a fat percentage of 18%. Let's then fry this off for 5 minutes, mixing it around regularly, and during this time the fat will render out and any water content will also evaporate from the heat, and you also have the choice to drain that fat or you can leave it in, which is what I'm doing. After 5 minutes, add in 3 teaspoons or 7 grams of curry powder, which will give us a beautiful aroma with a combination of both sweet and savoury spices, and this can then be well mixed through and cooked for 1 minute. To this, add in 3/4 of a cup or 180 milliliters of sweet chili sauce, half a cup or 125 milliliters of chicken stock to help deglaze if needed and add depth, the sliced spring onion or scallion stems, 200 grams or 7.05 ounces of frozen peas, half of the roughly chopped coriander or cilantro if using, and 1/3 of the spring onion or scallion stems. All that needs to be done now is give this a really good mix together for those flavours to become friends. Cook this for 1 final minute to ensure that the peas are hot in the centre, also checking and adjusting seasoning levels, then remove from the stovetop. After 12 minutes, we can then go back to the rice, turn this off the heat but leave the lid on for a further 5 minutes to finish cooking, then carefully remove. This can then be fluffed up with a spatula or fork, making sure to mix through any spices that have risen to the surface, and with that done, add in the remaining coriander or cilantro, half of the remaining spring onion or scallion stems, 30 grams or 1.06 ounces of slivered almonds, and 80 grams or 2.8 ounces of currants, which is completely optional. Get the spatula back in there to combine the flavour friendship, ensuring everything is incorporated, give it a taste for seasoning, and remove it from the stovetop. As for serving, I've worked out that each portion of rice is 180 grams or 6.35 ounces, and as for the beef it's 270 grams or 9.25 ounces. These can then be garnished with the remaining spring onion or scallion, leaving us with 5 1 litre or 33.8 fluid ounce containers that will last 4 days in the fridge and 3 months in the freezer. If frozen, thaw overnight in the fridge, and to reheat, place in the microwave until hot, which leaves us with the last and most important thing to do, and that is we can then dig in.